Before you start this video, I want you to consider the fact that hearing something new is always beneficial to your thinking processes, because new ideas force us to challenge what we assumed was true, and science teaches us that true facts can withstand any challenge. I also want to appeal to our commitment to freedom of speech by challenging you to try your best to listen and understand the following information with an open mind. Because to truly value freedom of speech, we must be willing to listen to different ideas, even if they seem unfamiliar and uncomfortable. It must be said that freedom of speech has no meaning if no one is listening. Let's also remember that while we all have beliefs, at the end of the day, logic and facts should always triumph over belief. Just like all the major media conglomerates suggest, it is true that there is a war happening in Hong Kong. But it might not be what you think, because the reason why the Hong Kong situation is the most reported story in the world is because the Hong Kong protests actually serve as a proxy war, or a PR war, that has been launched by the USA on the People's Republic of China, the second largest economy in the world. While the Western Media Alliance tries to convince us that the Hong Kong situation is all about democracy and freedom, as it always says when Western countries try to invade or interfere in foreign lands, the reality is that the real war is being fought for the hearts and minds of all the citizens on Earth, including you and me. The main battleground is happening in our living rooms, on our phones when we read the news, and on all the social media platforms that we use every day. Since just a few of the richest families in America control most of the major media conglomerates, as well as the three global mega monopolies of social media, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, this war is obviously a one-sided massacre, with China being put up on a media firing squad every single day and night. But let's talk about the super exciting foot soldiers that are glamorized and given rock star treatment by the Western media. In every war, you need your frontline soldiers, and you better believe that when you're trying to take on the second largest economy in the world, you're going to have a committed, die-hard force to complete the mission. But what is the best way to win? When looking back on the last few centuries of European global domination through colonization and foreign interventions, history tells us that the most effective strategy is famously known as divide and conquer. Now think about it for a moment. Instead of spending billions of dollars in weapons, communication systems, medical experts and equipment, transportation, soldiers' salaries, food, housing, etc., and instead of sacrificing the lives of your own countrymen, you simply have your enemy kill themselves by exploiting whatever differences they might have. In the most cynical way, it is an absolute bargain. All it costs is the funding of a culture or media PR campaign with the goal of sowing distrust, discord, and hatred in order to divide a society. One of the perfect tools used for divide and conquer is fabricating disgusting stories about one group within a nation in order to dehumanize and demonize them. This is historically known as scapegoating, and it's been used throughout history. The divide and conquer strategy relies on the most advanced and modern forms of psychops, which we used to call mass brainwashing and propaganda. This strategy slowly creates a belief system in people, which then convinces them to perform the ultimate betrayal, turning against your own nation, their own family and friends. But who could possibly be stupid enough to stab their own nation state in the back? Who would be so easily manipulated they could even be convinced that some ideal is more valuable than your own flesh and blood family, or to believe that some ideal is even more precious than life itself? Only the young are impressionable enough to fall for this. Only the young mind, with its boundless imagination and strong tendency towards idealism, could be so easily infiltrated. While young people are so willing to do good for the world, they are usually unaware of history, geopolitics, and foreign propaganda campaigns, making them easy targets for indoctrination. But how does it all work? The first step is to create an alternative reality, in other words, a media environment that forces a young person to believe that their own motherland is in fact their enemy. The Western media conglomerates have successfully done this by dominating TV networks, blogs, newspapers, radio, and controlling what goes viral on YouTube, Google, and Facebook. They even have influence over YouTube vloggers. The Western media bloc, controlled by just a few, successfully paints a bleak picture of the world that seems to be united in its hatred of the so-called communist China, or a rogue Islamic Iran, or an unbelievably stubborn Russia. How convenient that every nation on earth that refuses to be controlled by the USA just happens to be the same places that the media claims to be the most evil and scariest places on earth. There are few, if any, media companies that ever dare to present a storyline that contradicts this Western media bloc's point of view. But even when that rare moment does occur, the Western media simply ignores it, maneuvers quickly with distraction, or suppresses it. Through any means possible, like music, video games, movies, TV series, the mass media bombards a young mind with false accusation after false accusation, repeated 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It would be impossible for a young mind to see a media campaign for what it really is, a brainwashing to change their belief system. After all, the famous propagandist Goebbels once said, "Repeat a lie enough and it becomes the truth." Big lie after big lie after big lie. Even a fully mature adult would feel helpless and likely succumb to such a psychological carpet bombing. In part 1, we look at how Generation Brainwashed believes with all their hearts that betraying their own motherland and parents is the right thing to do. Today, we look at the Hong Kong protests' first big lie, the 2 million protesters lie. Ask anyone that knows anything about the Hong Kong protests, and they'll confidently say 2 million Hong Kongers are marching for freedom. But ask anyone how this number came about, and they'll just say, some article reported it. And that's exactly how the Western Bloc propaganda machine works. One article will pretend that a lie is a fact. Soon after, every other article or video will use that lie to support their storyline. In no time at all, the Google search feed is flooded with that lie. And that's precisely how a falsehood turns into a truth. The young people read those lies with zero questioning, and their false beliefs are galvanized, like injecting morphine into an addict's veins, or giving a special blessing to a zealous religious follower. This claim of 2 million protesters has been the rock on which the anti-China Western Bloc and their unquestioning blind followers have built their outpost of justification. The justification to support all criminality in Hong Kong. The justification to parade around and give rock star treatment to all those who vandalize or speak to media against the Hong Kong government or Beijing. The justification for non-stop sensationalized reporting in an island far, far away in China. The unfortunate truth is that rock is really just a figment of the Western media imagination. Nowhere, and I mean nowhere, can that number be found through any independent counting, and definitely not through any scientific observation. When searching the internet, only one Reuters article performed a rigorous count on July 1st and a serious analysis of crowd number claims on June 6th and June 12th. The HKU frequently performs counts which tellingly always fall not too far from police estimates. In the Reuters article, it discusses how police estimates and organizer estimates vary wildly. The only mention of 1.7 million people is from the articles that say organizers claim 1.7 million people marched, with absolutely no mention of their methods, of their evidence, or anything that can verify their very extraordinary claims. Of the largest protests in Hong Kong, which happened months ago, on June 6th, and which were related only to an irrationally feared extradition bill, a scientist in crowd counting at HKU, after reviewing data and accounts, says the crowds could only have been between 500 to 800,000 people. This is nowhere near what the Church of Western-owned media have enshrined as divine truth in a quest to bring down its arch-rival, China. How could the media, whose sole purpose is to inform the people and to equip them with the knowledge needed to understand and navigate the world, be the exact same force that is creating false narratives? It is exactly because they are not in the business of reporting information in today's polarized world. They are now in the business of manufacturing an alternative reality to win the greatest economic and technological Cold War the world has ever seen. Whose side will you stand on? The side that purposely lies to you, or the side that you still haven't had the chance to really see and understand? Perhaps it's time to unplug from the Western media matrix and see how beautiful the world really is.
You know what is GTA?
No.
You love GTA so much.
Grand Theft Autos.
Yeah. Yes, and now in Hong Kong, we're playing a real GTA.
Real GTA.
But only have one lifetime.
Those weapons and those conflicts are so far from our usual life. So it's just like a video game. You have a virtual identity, then you go on the streets, do something you should do, and then after that, you go to home and hide all the equipments, and then you go back to work again.
The idea that this is somehow a game and that they can opt in and out begs the question.
This might be fun today.
Fun? Why do you say it's going to be fun?
For us, this is every time is a new challenge, and challenge is fun for us. The police will use any new weapons that we never see before. Last time the police said that they will have a water cannon, and we are so looking for that.